Have you ever wondered why life feels like it's always changing? Why things never seem to stay the same? What if the way you see the world isn't actually the way things are? Imagine waking up tomorrow and seeing everything around you differently. How would that change your life? It may sound impossible, but what if I told you this shift in perspective could be the key to living a better, more peaceful life? Could your whole experience of reality change if you just understood one simple thing? Take a moment and think about it. When you look at a tree, what do you see? The trunk, the branches, the leaves. But is that all there is to it? Could there be more hidden in that simple tree? In this video, we're about to dive into the world of perspective and how shifting the way you see things can transform everything about your life. Welcome to Wisdom Woven. Here, we explore powerful concepts that can completely change how you think, feel, and live. If you're ready for a deeper understanding of life and how to see the world in a way that brings peace, happiness, and clarity, you're in the right place. Before we get started, make sure to hit that like button, share this video with others, and don't forget to subscribe. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% of you are subscribed. So please, show your support by liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. And please, drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear from you. Now, let's talk about the one thing that can change how you see your life: perspective. In the world of Buddhism, perspective isn't just about looking at things differently. It's about understanding that everything is constantly changing. This idea may be difficult to grasp at first, but once you start to understand it, you'll begin to see life in a whole new way. Imagine knowing that everything you experience is not permanent. How would that change how you react to challenges, to happiness, or even to pain? Would it make you live more fully in the present moment? Would it make you more grateful for the simple things? As we go through this video, keep an open mind. Let's explore how changing your perspective could bring true peace, joy, and freedom from the struggles we all face in daily life. The illusion of reality, how your mind shapes your world. What if everything you thought you knew about the world was just an illusion? What if the reality you see with your eyes is not the true reality at all? Sounds unbelievable, right? But this is exactly what the Buddha taught. The world around us, our experiences, our thoughts, and even our emotions, they're not as solid as we think. The world we live in is shaped by our minds, and it's constantly changing. If we only knew how to see past the illusion, we could find peace and freedom. Think about it. When you look around, what do you see? A tree, a car, people, buildings, right? But let me ask you, are you really seeing those things as they are? Or are you seeing them filtered through your own thoughts, beliefs, and past experiences? When you look at the tree, are you really seeing the tree? Or are you seeing a memory or an idea you have about trees? What you perceive is not the full picture. It's just a small fraction of the reality that's out there. Our minds create a sort of filter that colors everything we see, hear, and feel. This is why two people can look at the same situation and see completely different things. One person might see a beautiful sunset, while another might feel sad or even angry looking at it. The sunset didn't change, but the way each person perceives it is completely different. Why? Because our minds shape our experience of reality. Buddhism teaches that this illusion is at the root of our suffering. We think that the things we see, touch, and experience are permanent, unchanging, and solid. But the truth is they're not. Everything in the world is constantly changing, and nothing stays the same forever. The more we cling to the illusion of stability and permanence, the more we suffer when things inevitably change. Take a moment to think about something you've lost: a job, a relationship, a dream. How did it feel when that thing was no longer a part of your life? Did you feel like something was taken away from you? Did you experience a sense of loss? This feeling of loss is connected to the illusion of permanence. We believe that the things we have or the people in our lives should stay the same, but they don't. And when they don't, we suffer. But here's the truth. Everything changes. Everything. The tree outside your window, the people you love, even the thoughts in your mind, they're all impermanent. And that's not something to be afraid of. It's something to embrace. The truth of impermanence is a key to freedom. When you stop clinging to things that you can't control, you can start to live more freely. So, how do we start to see through this illusion? The first step is to recognize that what we see isn't the whole picture. Everything we experience is just a tiny fraction of reality, filtered through our minds. The Buddha called this the veil of illusion. Our minds create a filter that keeps us from seeing things as they truly are. And this veil causes suffering, because we believe that what we see is all there is. Imagine you're wearing sunglasses that change the color of everything you see. You might think the world is completely blue, but in reality, the world is full of all kinds of colors. The sunglasses are creating an illusion, and you're trapped in that illusion, thinking that blue is the only color. In the same way, our minds create an illusion that limits our perception of the world. We need to take off those mental sunglasses and start seeing things as they really are. But how do we do that? The key is mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present in the moment, without judgment, without attachment, and without the filter of our thoughts and opinions. When we practice mindfulness, we start to see things more clearly. We begin to notice how our minds are shaping our perception of reality. And when we see the truth, that everything is constantly changing and nothing is permanent, we can start to let go of our attachments and our need for control. Think about a cloud in the sky. It starts as a tiny speck, grows larger, changes shape, and eventually disappears. Does the cloud ever resist its own nature? No. It simply follows the natural flow of things. It doesn't cling to its form, and it doesn't struggle against its own impermanence. What if we could be like the cloud? What if we could let go of our need to control everything around us and simply allow life to flow naturally? Would that give us more peace? This isn't to say that we should stop caring about the things in our lives. It's not about giving up on relationships, dreams, or goals. It's about understanding that nothing in life is permanent. Our attachments to things, people, and experiences often create suffering. The moment we realize that everything changes, we can begin to appreciate what we have right now, without the fear of losing it. We can live more fully in the present, without worrying about the future or regretting the past. Let me ask you again, what if the way you see the world isn't the way it truly is? What if you've been trapped in a mental illusion all this time, believing that the world is solid, permanent, and unchanging? What if you could see beyond that illusion and experience life with a sense of freedom and peace? The truth is you can. But first, you have to recognize the illusion. You have to see that your mind is shaping the reality you experience. When you begin to see through this illusion, you'll discover a deeper, more profound connection to life. You'll begin to see that everything is interconnected and that all things are constantly changing, just like the clouds in the sky. In the next part, we'll explore how understanding the nature of impermanence can bring peace and freedom into your life. But for now, just take a moment to reflect on this. The world you see is not the world as it truly is. What you experience is shaped by your mind, and the more you understand this, the more you'll be able to break free from the illusion. Let go of the need to control, and you'll start to experience life in a way that brings true peace and happiness. Remember, the illusion is not something to be afraid of. It's just a part of the journey. The more you see through it, the more you'll be able to embrace life as it really is. And when you do, you'll find that everything around you is full of beauty, joy, and freedom. The nature of impermanence, nothing lasts forever. Have you ever stopped to think about how everything in life is constantly changing? The seasons, your thoughts, your relationships, the world around you. Nothing stays the same for long. One day it's sunny, the next day it's raining. One moment you're happy, the next, you might feel sadness creeping in. But why is this so? Is it possible that this constant change is actually the key to understanding life itself? What if this very truth could set you free from the anxiety of trying to hold on to things that are always slipping away? Everything in life is impermanent. It's a truth that many of us try to deny or ignore, but no matter how much we try to fight it, change is inevitable. The Buddha taught that this idea of impermanence is one of the fundamental truths of existence. In Buddhism, this is known as anicca, the understanding that all things, whether they're physical objects, emotions, or experiences, are in a constant state of flux. Just think about your own life for a moment. How many things have come and gone? Think about your childhood. Can you remember how things felt when you were younger? The games you played, the places you visited, the people you met. Maybe some of those things still exist in some way, but they've changed. You've changed too. Perhaps you've grown taller, your interests have shifted, and the people you knew then may not be a part of your life today. But that's okay, because this is what life is all about: change, growth, and transformation. It's easy to get attached to things, to hold on to them as if they'll last forever. We cling to possessions, relationships, and even our own identities, hoping that by doing so, we can find some sort of permanence in a world that is constantly shifting. But no matter how hard we try to hold on, everything changes. If we look around, we can see it clearly. The world is constantly evolving. The person you were yesterday is not the same person you are today. Think about the last time you experienced something difficult. Maybe it was a stressful day at work, an argument with someone close to you, or the feeling of being stuck in life. At that moment, it probably felt like that discomfort would last forever. But guess what? It didn't. It passed. The same is true for the good times too. Happiness, joy, and excitement are also fleeting. One moment you're celebrating something wonderful, in the next moment, life changes again. It's the nature of things. But what if we could embrace this truth instead of fighting against it? What if we could live our lives knowing that everything, the good and the bad, is just passing through? The rain will stop, the storm will calm, the sunset will fade, and so will your worries. This concept of impermanence can actually be liberating, because when you understand that nothing lasts forever, you stop holding on so tightly, you stop fearing the future, and you stop regretting the past. It's all part of the flow of life, and the more you accept that flow, the more peace you'll find. Now, take a moment and think about your current situation. Are you holding on to something that's no longer serving you? Maybe it's a job that no longer brings you joy, or a friendship that has changed in ways you don't like. What if you could let go of the attachment to that thing? What if you could see it for what it truly is, a moment in time that will pass? Imagine the freedom you could feel if you didn't have to cling so tightly to things that are changing anyway. Letting go doesn't mean that you stop caring about people, places, or things. It simply means that you accept the reality that nothing is permanent. It's about appreciating the present moment for what it is, without trying to hold onto it forever. Imagine being able to enjoy every moment fully, without the worry of it slipping away. That's the power of accepting impermanence. But how do we do that? How do we start embracing change instead of resisting it? The first step is awareness. Start noticing the little changes around you. The way the sun rises and sets, the seasons changing, the people coming and going in your life. Start recognizing that everything, even your own thoughts, is in a constant state of flux. Once you see this, you can begin to let go of the need for control and start living more fully in the present moment. It's also important to practice mindfulness. This means being fully aware of what is happening in the moment without judgment. When you feel a strong emotion, like sadness or anger, instead of trying to push it away or hold on to it, simply observe it. Notice how it arises, how it feels, and how it changes. Everything is in motion, and by observing it, you can begin to let go of the need to control or resist it. In Buddhism, the teachings around impermanence are not just about observing the changing nature of things, but about using that understanding to live more wisely. We can learn to focus on what truly matters, rather than getting caught up in the temporary distractions of life. When you understand that everything will eventually change, you can start prioritizing the things that bring you true peace, joy, and fulfillment. So, how does this all connect to your daily life? It's simple. Start letting go of the need for things to stay the same. Accept that change is natural and inevitable. When you do this, you begin to live with less fear, less attachment, and less anxiety about the future. You become more open to the flow of life and find peace in knowing that everything, even the challenges you face, is temporary. When you accept impermanence, you begin to see life differently. You start to appreciate the small moments, the conversations with loved ones, the quiet walks in nature, the simple pleasures that make up your day. You realize that life is not something to be controlled or held on to, but something to be experienced fully in every moment, knowing that it will change. And in that change, there is beauty, there is freedom, there is life. So, the next time you find yourself holding on too tightly, remind yourself, this too shall pass. Whether it's pain or joy, It's all part of the grand cycle of impermanence. And in this truth, there is peace. Now that you've seen the power of impermanence, how do you feel about your attachments? Are you ready to let go of some things and live more freely? Let's explore further. The power of detachment, freedom from suffering. In life, we hold on to things. We hold on to people, memories, possessions, expectations, and even our own ideas about who we are. But what happens when we hold too tightly to something? Does it give us peace? Does it bring us happiness? Or does it cause us to feel more stressed, frustrated, and trapped? Have you ever experienced the pain of losing something you loved? Maybe it was a relationship, a dream, or even a job. In that moment, the world might have felt like it was falling apart. You might have felt overwhelmed by sadness or anger. But what if I told you that much of this suffering comes from the simple act of attachment? Detachment isn't about not caring or abandoning what you love. It's about understanding that everything is temporary. And because everything is temporary, clinging to it only brings suffering. When you attach yourself too strongly to something, you risk the pain of losing it. But when you learn to let go and accept the natural flow of life, you free yourself from the burden of constant desire and worry. Think about this. When you go to the beach, you see the waves come and go. Each wave rises, crashes, and then disappears. The ocean doesn't hold on to any one wave. It simply allows them to come and go. Imagine if the ocean tried to hold on to every wave. It would become chaotic, overwhelming, and unable to function properly. The same is true for your life. When you cling too tightly to things, emotions, or people, it disrupts your inner peace. Detachment in Buddhism is not about rejecting the world or becoming indifferent. It's about understanding that everything in life, both good and bad, is impermanent. If you let go of your attachment to specific outcomes or possessions, you can start to live more freely and fully in the present moment. Here's a simple example. Imagine you have a beautiful flower in your hand. You admire its beauty, its color, and its fragrance. But as time passes, the flower starts to wilt. Now, imagine if you refuse to let go of that flower, trying to hold on to it forever. The more you hold it, the more it starts to decay, and the more you feel its loss. But if you understand that the flower's life is temporary, you can enjoy its beauty without fear of its eventual fading. You let go of the attachment to its perfection and instead appreciate it for what it is in that moment. In life, we are like that flower. We are constantly changing, growing, and fading. But when we stop trying to hold on to moments, people, or things, we allow ourselves to flow with life, just like the ocean or the changing seasons. This doesn't mean we don't care. It means we accept that everything is in a constant state of change. The idea of detachment is central in Buddhism. The Buddha himself taught that attachment is one of the main causes of suffering. We suffer because we desire things to stay the same, to be permanent, to be exactly how we want them. But the truth is, life doesn't work that way. Everything changes. People change, circumstances change, even our own thoughts and emotions change. Think of a tree. Its leaves may be green and full of life in the spring, but they turn brown and fall off in the autumn. If the tree clung to those leaves, it would be unable to grow new ones. But instead, it lets go. It accepts the seasons. In the same way, when we let go of our attachments, we allow space for new things to enter our lives. New experiences, new people, and new opportunities can only come when we stop holding on too tightly to what we already have. Detachment is also about letting go of the need to control everything. How often do we try to control the future, our relationships, or even how others perceive us? We plan and plan, hoping that everything will unfold in exactly the way we want. But the truth is, no matter how hard we try, we can never fully control life. There will always be things beyond our control, but when we let go of that need to control, we open ourselves to the beauty of the unknown. Let's take a moment and think about the things in your life that you might be holding on to too tightly. Are there any relationships that are causing you pain because you're trying to control them? Are you attached to a particular outcome or expectation that is causing you stress? Or maybe there are material possessions or beliefs that you're afraid to let go of. Now, ask yourself, what would happen if you let go? What if you stopped clinging to these things and allowed life to flow naturally? It might feel uncomfortable at first, but this is the key to true freedom. When you detach, you allow yourself to experience life without fear of loss, without the burden of constant desire. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring about the people or things you love. It simply means you stop attaching your happiness or sense of self to them. You realize that true happiness comes from within, not from external circumstances. You can still love, you can still enjoy, but you no longer let these things control your inner peace. This is what Buddhism teaches us, that the root of suffering is attachment. We suffer because we want things to be permanent, and we resist change. But when we learn to let go and embrace the impermanence of life, we find peace. We stop fearing loss, because we understand that everything is in constant motion. So, how can you start practicing detachment in your life? First, recognize the things you're holding on to. Take a moment each day to reflect on what you're attached to and why. Then, practice letting go, even if it's just a little bit. Let go of the need to control, let go of the fear of losing, and allow yourself to live in the present moment. Remember, detachment is not about becoming cold or indifferent. It's about understanding the nature of life and finding peace within it. When you let go, you create space for new experiences, growth, and freedom. You free yourself from the chains of desire and fear, and you start to live more fully, more freely. Detachment is the key to freedom from suffering. It's the practice of accepting life as it is, without trying to force it to be something it's not. When you detach, you become like the ocean, flowing, accepting, and at peace with the ever-changing tides of life. In the end, detachment is not something you do once and forget about. It's a practice, something you work on every day. But over time, you'll start to notice the change. You'll feel lighter, freer, and more at peace with yourself and the world around you. You'll learn to let go of the things that weigh you down and open yourself to the beauty of life in all its forms. This is the power of detachment. It's not about rejecting the world. It's about embracing it without attachment. It's about seeing things for what they are, not for what you wish them to be. When you let go, you unlock the freedom to live a life of peace, joy, and true happiness. The illusion of self? Who are you really? Who are you really? Have you ever asked yourself that question? You may say, I'm me, I'm my name, my job, my family. But is that all there is to it? The truth is, what you think of as you may not be what you truly are. Could it be that the you see in the mirror is just a collection of thoughts and memories, not the real essence of who you are? What if everything you thought you knew about yourself is nothing more than an illusion? It's a strange thought, isn't it? The idea that your identity, the thing you've held on to for so long, could actually be an illusion. But this is one of the central teachings in Buddhism. The self, as we know it, is not real. The Buddha spoke of the concept of anatta, or non-self. He taught that we are not a permanent, unchanging entity. Instead, we are a constantly changing flow of thoughts, feelings, and experiences. Take a moment and think. If you're not your body, not your thoughts, not your job or your family, then what are you? Who is the I that you always talk about? Is it the person who's had a specific life history? The person who has a certain name and face? Or could it be something much deeper and more universal than that? Imagine you are looking at yourself from the outside. You see a person sitting there, thinking, feeling, and reacting to the world around them. But what if you step back even further? What if you could zoom out far enough to see that all these things, the body, the thoughts, the emotions, are just temporary experiences? They come and go, like waves on the ocean. But what if there was something that remains, something deeper that isn't caught up in these changing patterns? In Buddhism, this is where the concept of anatta comes in. Anatta means that there is no permanent, unchanging self. There's no you that exists outside of the flow of life. What we think of as me is simply a temporary collection of thoughts, sensations, and experiences that come together for a while, but will eventually dissolve. Just like a river that changes with every moment, the self is always changing. Let's use an example. Picture a tree. We look at it and we think, that's a tree. But when you break it down, what is a tree really? It's a collection of many things: roots, branches, leaves, soil, air, and sunlight. Each part of the tree is constantly changing. Leaves grow, fall, and grow back again. Roots spread deeper into the earth, and the tree itself continues to grow. But do we call it a tree because of its name, or because of its constant changing parts? In the same way, we call ourselves I because of the ever-changing aspects of our experience. But is there something deeper, something unchanging, that we can point to as me? Buddhism teaches that by recognizing the illusion of self, we can free ourselves from suffering. When we hold on to the idea that we are a fixed, unchanging person, we create a sense of separateness from everything else. This belief in a permanent self causes us to cling to things, people, and ideas that we think define us. We hold on to our identity as a source of comfort, but this attachment only leads to suffering. But when we realize that there's no fixed self, that we are just a temporary collection of experiences, something amazing happens. We become free. We become free to let go of the things we've been holding on to for so long. We realize that nothing about us, our thoughts, our body, our history, is permanent, and that's okay. We don't need to grasp at anything to define who we are. We simply are. You might wonder, if there's no self, then who are we? What's the point of living if there's no permanent identity? Well, this is where the beauty of Buddhism lies. By letting go of the illusion of self, we are not losing ourselves. We are gaining a deeper understanding of who we really are. We are connected to everything, and when we stop focusing on our own fixed identity, we can experience life more fully, more deeply, and with greater peace. Let's return to the example of the river. The river is always changing. Sometimes it's fast and wild. Other times it's slow and calm. But there is something that remains constant: the water. The water is always there, even if its form changes. In the same way, we can learn to recognize that, although our thoughts and emotions come and go, there is something deep within us that is unchanging. When we let go of the illusion of a permanent self, we begin to see that we are not separate from the world. We are a part of everything. And this is where true freedom comes from. Not from holding on to a fixed identity, but from recognizing that we are part of a larger, interconnected whole. So, how can you begin to break free from the illusion of self? The first step is awareness. Start paying attention to the thoughts and beliefs you have about who you are. Notice how often you identify yourself by your job, your family, your past experiences. Each time you do, ask yourself, is this really who I am, or is this just a story I've been telling myself? Another powerful practice is meditation. In meditation, we learn to sit with our thoughts without attaching to them. We begin to see that our thoughts are just that, thoughts. They don't define us. They come and go, just like clouds in the sky. By regularly meditating, we start to experience the space between our thoughts, and in that space, we begin to see that we are not our thoughts. We are something deeper, something that simply is. The illusion of self can be a difficult concept to grasp at first, but once you begin to see through it, you'll experience a sense of freedom that you may have never felt before. You'll realize that you don't need to hold on to anything to define who you are. You are already complete, just as you are. So, who are you really? The answer is, you are everything and you are nothing. You are the river, constantly flowing, constantly changing. But you are also the water, timeless and always present. Recognizing this truth can change your life in ways you can't yet imagine. And once you do, you'll begin to see the world and yourself in an entirely new light. Let go of the illusion of self and watch how your life transforms. The law of cause and effect, karma, and its deep impact. Do you ever wonder why things happen the way they do? Why some people seem to face endless struggles, while others sail through life with ease? What if there's more to it than just luck or chance? What if everything you experience is the result of something you've done, thought, or said not just in this life, but maybe in past ones too? The concept of karma is one of the most powerful and life-changing teachings in Buddhism. It's the simple yet profound law of cause and effect. It's the idea that every action, every thought, every word has an impact, not only on the world around you, but on your future too. It's like planting a seed. The seed you plant today will grow into the tree you see tomorrow. But what kind of tree will it be? A beautiful one or a thorny one? This is the heart of karma. When we talk about karma, It's not some mystical force that punishes or rewards us. It's simply the natural law of cause and effect, a principle as certain as gravity. When you plant an apple seed, you don't get oranges. When you plant kindness, you won't get anger in return. If you spread negativity, that's what you'll eventually receive. It's not about punishment. It's about what naturally follows from your actions, thoughts, and words. Take a moment and think about your actions today. How have they shaped your world? Are you acting out of kindness, patience, and understanding? Or are you letting frustration, anger, or fear lead the way? Everything you do has an impact. Even the smallest act of kindness or cruelty can create ripples that extend far beyond what you can see. Imagine this. You're walking down the street, and you see someone who looks like they've had a rough day. You smile at them, say hello, and even ask if they need help. That small act might seem insignificant to you, but to them, it could make all the difference. You've planted a seed of kindness. That moment might help them see the world in a more positive light, and in the future, they might do the same for someone else. But what if, instead of kindness, you chose anger in that same situation? What if you ignored that person, or even worse, treated them harshly? That negative energy would not only affect their day, but could also linger in your own heart. You've planted a seed of negativity, and it will grow, affecting how you see the world and how the world reacts to you. The beauty of karma is that it's always working, whether you're aware of it or not. You don't need to wait for the next life for the consequences of your actions to show up. They happen in the here and now, in the very moment that you choose your actions. This is why every small decision, every little moment in your life, matters. Think about it. Every time you choose to be kind, patient, and loving, you're building a life that's full of peace, harmony, and joy. But when you choose anger, resentment, and hatred, you're building a life full of struggle, conflict, and suffering. It's all in your hands. Your future, your happiness, your peace, they all depend on the choices you make in every moment. But don't be fooled. Karma isn't just about big actions like helping someone or yelling at someone. It's also about the smaller, quieter things that no one sees. The thoughts that pass through your mind, the feelings you hold inside, the way you judge others. All of these things are part of your karma too. When you think negatively, criticize, or judge others, you're planting seeds of bitterness and disharmony. But when you choose to forgive, to see the good in others, you're planting seeds of peace and understanding. In Buddhism, karma isn't seen as a punishment or a reward system. It's simply the natural law of the universe. It's not about good things happening to good people or bad things happening to bad people. It's about the fact that every action has a result, and every result comes from an action. Your thoughts and actions create your world, one small moment at a time. The good news is that you can change your karma. You're not stuck in a cycle of negativity forever. Every new moment is an opportunity to plant new seeds. Every thought, every action is a chance to shape your future. If you're not happy with the world you've created, start making small changes today. Start acting with kindness, patience, and love. Start letting go of anger, judgment, and fear. It's also important to understand that karma isn't something that happens to you. It's not about waiting for life to reward or punish you. It's something you create through your choices. The universe isn't sending you karma. You're creating it with every moment, every interaction, every decision. Now, let's look at another layer of karma. How it extends beyond just your actions. Karma also plays a role in your relationships. Have you ever wondered why certain people seem to always bring out the worst in you, while others bring out the best? This, too, is a result of karma. Our relationships are often the mirror that reflects back the seeds we've planted in the past. If you're struggling with someone, it's not just about them. It's about what you've created together. If you want to change the way you interact with others, you must first change how you interact with yourself. The way you treat yourself, the way you think about yourself, will directly affect how others treat you. If you love yourself, if you're kind to yourself, others will reflect that kindness back to you. But if you're harsh, critical, or judgmental of yourself, you'll see that mirrored in your relationships with others. So, how do you break the cycle? How do you start planting better seeds for the future? The answer is simple: awareness. Start by becoming aware of your thoughts, actions, and words. Notice when you're acting out of anger, fear, or resentment. When you catch yourself, take a deep breath and ask yourself, is this the seed I want to plant? Is this the kind of world I want to create? Every time you catch yourself in a negative thought or action, you have a choice. You can either continue down that path, or you can make a new choice. The more you practice awareness, the more you'll be able to choose wisely, and the more positive karma you'll create. Remember, karma isn't about being perfect. It's about being aware, being mindful of the choices you make. It's about understanding that every action, no matter how small, has a ripple effect. The more you practice kindness, patience, and love, the more you'll see these qualities come back to you, often in ways you never imagined. So, next time something doesn't go your way, or you feel frustrated, take a moment to reflect. What seeds are you planting with your reactions? What future are you creating with your thoughts and actions? And remember, the power to change is always in your hands. The art of mindfulness, seeing life as it truly is. Imagine this. You're sitting in a crowded room, but for a moment, you close your eyes. The noise, the chatter, the rush of thoughts in your mind, all of it fades away. Suddenly, there's stillness. In that moment, you are fully present, aware of the space around you, the air you breathe, and the feeling of the ground beneath you. The noise is still there, but it no longer controls you. This is mindfulness. Mindfulness is one of the most powerful practices in Buddhism, yet it is also one of the simplest. It's about being fully aware of the present moment, without judgment, without distraction, and without trying to change anything. It's about seeing life as it truly is, not filtered through the lens of your expectations, fears, or desires. But how can something so simple have such a profound impact on your life? In our daily lives, we are often caught up in the whirlwind of thoughts. We think about what happened yesterday, what might happen tomorrow, what we need to do, what we didn't do. The mind is constantly jumping from one thought to the next, like a restless child who can't sit still. But in this constant state of thinking, we miss out on the present moment. We lose touch with what is happening right now, and instead, we get lost in our thoughts and worries. Mindfulness teaches us to slow down, to pause, and to truly experience the present. It's about noticing the small things, the warmth of the sunlight on your skin, the sound of the wind rustling the leaves, the feeling of your breath as it moves in and out. When we pay attention to these small moments, we start to connect with life more deeply. We begin to see the beauty that's always around us, but we often overlook. But here's the thing. Mindfulness is not just about being aware of pleasant moments. It's about being aware of everything, the good and the bad, the joyful and the painful. Sometimes, life can be difficult. We face challenges, we go through pain, and we encounter things we don't understand. But when we approach these experiences with mindfulness, something amazing happens. We stop reacting out of fear or frustration, and instead, we simply observe. We don't try to change the situation or escape it. We just let it be. And in doing so, we learn that even in the most difficult moments, there is peace to be found. One of the reasons mindfulness is so powerful is because it helps us break free from the endless cycle of thoughts. When we're caught up in our thinking, we often get lost in patterns of worry, regret, or fear. We create stories in our minds that may not even be true, but we believe them anyway. Mindfulness allows us to step out of this cycle. It gives us the space to pause, to simply be, and to observe our thoughts without being controlled by them. Think about this. Have you ever found yourself getting angry at something, only to later realize that the anger was based on a misunderstanding or a misperception? Maybe you reacted before fully understanding the situation, or perhaps you let your emotions cloud your judgment. Mindfulness helps us to slow down and notice these reactions before they take hold of us. Instead of blindly reacting, we learn to respond from a place of clarity and awareness. This is what it means to see life as it truly is. Another aspect of mindfulness is its ability to bring us closer to the present moment. Have you ever been so focused on the past or future that you completely missed what was happening in the here and now? We often find ourselves living in memories of what happened or worrying about what's coming next. But in doing so, we miss the only moment we truly have, this one. Mindfulness helps us return to the present, where life is happening right now. It's a practice that brings us back to our senses, back to our bodies, and back to the world around us. When we practice mindfulness, we begin to notice how much of our lives are lived on autopilot. We do things without truly experiencing them. We eat without savoring our food, walk without feeling our steps, talk without truly listening. But mindfulness brings us back to the present, where we can fully experience every moment. And when we do this, life becomes richer, more vibrant, and more meaningful. But here's the challenge. Mindfulness is not always easy. It requires practice and patience. The mind has a natural tendency to wander, and our thoughts can be like an unruly river, constantly flowing and changing. But with regular practice, we can train our minds to be more focused, more aware, and more present. We can learn to let go of distractions and bring our attention back to the moment again and again. You might be wondering, how do I start practicing mindfulness in my daily life? It's simpler than you think. Start by focusing on your breath. Just take a moment to sit quietly and pay attention to your inhale and exhale. Feel the air as it enters and leaves your body. If your mind starts to wander, gently bring it back to your breath. You can also practice mindfulness in your everyday activities. Whether you're eating, walking, or even washing dishes, bring your full attention to the task at hand. Notice the details, the textures, the smells, the sounds, and be fully present in whatever you're doing. As you practice, you'll begin to notice something amazing. Life starts to feel different. You begin to see things more clearly, without the filter of your past experiences or future worries. You start to appreciate the small moments that you once overlooked, and you begin to feel a sense of peace, even in the midst of chaos. Mindfulness doesn't just change the way you see the world, it changes the way you live in it. When you're truly present, you start to let go of the need to control everything. You stop trying to change things or fix them, and instead, you allow life to unfold as it is. And in doing so, you find freedom. Freedom from stress, freedom from anxiety, and freedom from the constant pressure to do more, be more, and have more. In Buddhism, mindfulness is not just a technique. It's a way of life. It's about living with awareness, compassion, and presence in every moment. It's about seeing the world not through the lens of your desires or fears, but through the lens of clarity and acceptance. And when you start living this way, you begin to see life as it truly is, a constant flow of moments, each one precious and unique. So, the next time you find yourself caught up in the rush of life, take a deep breath and pause. Close your eyes for a moment and just be. Notice the world around you. Notice your thoughts and notice your feelings. Don't judge them. Don't try to change them. Just observe. And in that simple act of mindfulness, you will begin to see the world in a whole new way. The more you practice, the more you'll realize that mindfulness isn't just about sitting quietly or meditating for a few minutes each day. It's about living with awareness in every moment. It's about seeing the beauty, the pain, the joy, and the sorrow in life as it is without the need to change it, fix it, or escape from it. This is the art of mindfulness, seeing life as it truly is. And when you start to see life this way, everything changes. The noise fades, the distractions fall away, and what remains is the simple, beautiful truth of the present moment. The path of compassion, transforming the way you see others. Have you ever thought about why we find it so easy to judge others? Why is it that we sometimes feel frustration or anger towards people who are different from us, or who act in ways we don't understand? What if we could see the world through someone else's eyes? Could it change the way we respond to their actions? Could it bring us peace? Imagine for a moment if we could all practice compassion, not just in our actions, but in the way we see and understand each other. Compassion is often misunderstood. It's not just about feeling sorry for someone or offering help when needed. True compassion is about understanding others deeply. It's about seeing the world from their perspective, even when it's different from our own. It's about acknowledging their pain, joy, struggles, and victories without judgment. Compassion is not just something we give, but something that transforms the way we experience life itself. In Buddhism, compassion goes hand in hand with wisdom. You see, wisdom teaches us that all beings are interconnected. We are not separate from one another, no matter how different we may seem. The person you pass on the street, the neighbor who seems distant, or even the stranger who makes you uncomfortable, they are all connected to you. In the deeper sense, We all share this human experience of life's ups and downs, its struggles and joys. This connection is a foundation for true compassion. When we practice compassion, we start to see the world differently. It's no longer about us versus them. There's no more dividing line between I and you. We realize that everyone has their own story, their own pain, and their own way of walking through life. The way someone acts, the way they react, all of it is shaped by experiences we may never understand. But instead of judging them for it, compassion asks us to open our hearts. Imagine, for a moment, how it would feel to be seen, not for your flaws or your mistakes, but for your humanity. Imagine being understood without judgment, accepted despite your imperfections. Wouldn't it feel like a huge weight had been lifted off your shoulders? Now, think about how it would feel to offer that same acceptance and understanding to others. It's a powerful gift, not just for them, but for you as well. So how do we practice compassion in our daily lives? The first step is simply to listen. Truly listen, not just to the words someone is saying, but to the feelings behind those words. How often do we rush to respond, to give advice, or to fix things? But sometimes, people don't need advice or solutions. They need someone to listen, to truly hear them. When we listen with compassion, we're not thinking about how to fix someone or change their experience. We're simply allowing them to be heard. Another key to compassion is patience. How easy is it to feel frustrated when someone doesn't understand things the way we do, or when they make mistakes? But what if we could offer patience instead of frustration? What if we could stop expecting perfection from others, just as we hope they don't expect it from us? In Buddhism, patience is seen as a form of compassion. By allowing others to learn, grow, and make mistakes without judgment, we're helping them walk their own path without imposing our own timelines or expectations. Compassion also means recognizing our shared humanity. We all face struggles. We all have moments of doubt, fear, and pain. When we recognize that others are going through their own challenges, just like us, it softens our hearts. We begin to see that the anger, frustration, or fear we feel towards someone else might just be a reflection of our own inner struggles. In these moments, compassion invites us to pause and ask ourselves, what does this person need right now? What can I offer them in this moment? But compassion isn't just something we extend to others. It's also something we need to practice toward ourselves. We're often our harshest critics, holding ourselves to impossible standards, and feeling disappointment when we don't measure up. What if, instead of criticizing ourselves for our mistakes, we approached ourselves with compassion? What if we allowed ourselves to make mistakes and learn from them, just as we would with a close friend or loved one? When we offer compassion to ourselves, it has a ripple effect. It frees us from the weight of judgment and opens up space for growth, healing, and self-acceptance. This self-compassion becomes the foundation for offering compassion to others. It's like a mirror. The more we love and accept ourselves, the more we are able to love and accept others. Now, you might be wondering, how do we know if we're truly practicing compassion or if it's just an act? The answer lies in the intention behind our actions. True compassion doesn't expect anything in return. It doesn't ask for recognition or praise. It simply gives because it sees the value in others and recognizes their shared humanity. When we're acting out of genuine compassion, we don't seek to change someone or make them better. We simply seek to understand, to be present, and to offer love, kindness, and support without any conditions. But compassion is not just about individual acts of kindness. It's about creating a culture of care, where compassion flows freely and naturally. Imagine a world where we all practiced compassion as a way of life. What would happen if, instead of looking for reasons to divide, we looked for reasons to connect? What if, instead of seeing others' mistakes as flaws, we saw them as part of the shared human journey? How much more peaceful, loving, and understanding would our world be? The path of compassion can change everything. It shifts our perspective from fear and judgment to love and acceptance. It opens our hearts and minds, allowing us to truly connect with others. When we practice compassion, we not only transform the lives of those around us, we transform ourselves. We become kinder, more understanding, and more at peace with the world. So, the next time you're faced with a moment of frustration or judgment, take a step back. Breathe. Ask yourself, How can I see this person with compassion? How can I understand their experience and offer kindness instead of judgment? It may not always be easy, but the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. And remember, compassion is not about being perfect. It's about being real, being present, and choosing love over judgment. By shifting the way we see others, we not only help them, but we help ourselves too. Compassion is the key to transforming the world, one moment, one person at a time. So let your heart open, let your understanding grow, and let compassion be your guide as you walk this path of life. The journey to enlightenment, lessons from the Buddha. Imagine walking down a path where every step you take brings you closer to peace, understanding, and freedom from suffering. Doesn't that sound like a journey worth taking? But what if the road to that peace is not as straightforward as we think? What if the true path to enlightenment isn't about finding something outside of ourselves, but about discovering something within? The journey to enlightenment is not just a destination. It's a deep transformation of the mind, and today, we are going to explore what the Buddha's teachings have to offer about this incredible journey. The Buddha, once a prince named Siddhartha Gautama, lived a life of luxury. He had everything that people dream of: wealth, comfort, and power. But something was missing. Siddhartha felt that no matter how much he had, it didn't bring him true happiness. He saw that people around him were suffering: the elderly, the sick, the dying. He wondered, why is life like this? Why do we experience so much pain? He didn't just accept life as it was. He sought answers. He was not content with what society told him was the purpose of life. He wanted to understand the true nature of existence. So, Siddhartha left everything behind and began his journey in search of truth. He meditated, studied, and practiced various forms of self-discipline. He even endured extreme suffering, but no matter how much he struggled, he still didn't find the answers he was looking for. And then, one day, under the shade of a tree, Siddhartha experienced something profound. He became enlightened. This moment of enlightenment didn't involve discovering a new place or receiving a magical power. It was the realization that everything in life, suffering, joy, pain, and pleasure, are all part of a larger, interconnected web. The Buddha discovered that our suffering arises because we cling to things, believing they will bring us lasting happiness. But everything is temporary. Relationships, wealth, health, they all come and go. By clinging to these things, we set ourselves up for disappointment. The key to freedom is to let go of this attachment. What did the Buddha learn that could help us? First, he realized the importance of understanding the Four Noble Truths. These truths are simple, but they contain the essence of the Buddha's wisdom. The truth of suffering, dukkha life involves suffering. We face pain, loss, and dissatisfaction. It's not always easy to accept, but it's a reality we all experience. The Buddha didn't sugarcoat life. He didn't promise that everything would be perfect. Instead, he taught us that suffering is part of the human condition. The truth of the cause of suffering, samadaya, the cause of suffering, is attachment. We cling to things, people, and desires, hoping they will bring us happiness. But when those things change or disappear, we are left feeling empty. It's like trying to hold onto water with your bare hands. It slips through your fingers. By letting go of attachment, we stop creating the conditions for our own suffering. The truth of the end of suffering, Nirodha, the good news, is that suffering can end. We don't have to live in misery forever. By understanding the causes of suffering and practicing detachment, we can free ourselves from the cycle of pain. This doesn't mean we'll never face challenges, but we will have the tools to approach them with peace and wisdom. The truth of the path leading to the end of suffering, Magga, the Buddha taught that there is a path to liberation, the Noble Eightfold Path. This path consists of 8 practices that guide us to live a life of wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline. These are: right understanding, seeing the world as it truly is; understanding the Four Noble Truths and how they apply to your life; right intent, cultivating the right mindset, one of kindness, compassion, and wisdom; right speech, speaking truthfully and kindly without causing harm to others; right action, acting with integrity and compassion, avoiding harm and doing good; right livelihood, choosing a profession or way of living that doesn't cause harm to others; right effort, diligently working on improving yourself, letting go of negative thoughts, and cultivating positive qualities. Right mindfulness, developing awareness of your thoughts, feelings, and actions, paying attention to the present moment without judgment. Right concentration, practicing meditation to cultivate a focused, calm, and clear mind. These 8 principles form a map for living a life that leads to peace and enlightenment. But here's the thing. Following the path isn't about reaching a destination. It's about the journey itself. It's about making small, steady improvements every day, being mindful of your thoughts and actions, and learning from every experience. The Buddha didn't promise that the path would be easy. In fact, he said that life is full of challenges. But he showed us that through understanding, mindfulness, and compassion, we can face these challenges with wisdom and grace. You don't need to be a monk or live in a remote temple to follow the Buddha's teachings. His wisdom is for everyone, no matter where you are in life. One of the most powerful lessons from the Buddha's life is that enlightenment doesn't come from escaping the world. It comes from engaging with it, but with a clear and calm mind. It's about seeing things as they are, not as we want them to be. And when we accept things as they are, when we let go of our attachments and desires, we find a deep sense of peace that isn't dependent on external circumstances. So, what does the journey to enlightenment look like for you? It's not about reaching some final destination, but about living each day with awareness, compassion, and wisdom. It's about transforming the way you experience life, seeing the beauty in the ordinary, and finding peace in the midst of chaos. It's easy to get lost in the noise of everyday life, but the teachings of the Buddha remind us that we have the power to change how we respond to the world. By cultivating mindfulness, compassion, and wisdom, we can free ourselves from the cycle of suffering and live a life filled with peace, clarity, and joy. Now, ask yourself, how can you start this journey today? What small steps can you take to live more mindfully, to let go of your attachments, and to approach life with a peaceful heart? The path may not be easy, but the rewards are priceless. It's a journey that can lead you to the deepest sense of fulfillment you could ever imagine. So, are you ready to take the first step? Your journey to enlightenment is waiting for you. Conclusion: a new vision of life. Now that we've journeyed together through this understanding of life and perspective, let's take a moment to reflect on everything we've learned so far. Have you noticed how your view of the world might be slowly changing? Maybe you're starting to see the deeper meaning behind things, or perhaps you're just beginning to understand how powerful your thoughts are. Isn't it amazing to think that something as simple as a shift in perspective could lead to a completely new way of living, a way that feels lighter, freer, and more peaceful? But before we jump to any conclusions, let's ask ourselves, how do we actually make this change in our everyday lives? It's one thing to understand these concepts, but another thing to truly live by them. How do we take this new perspective and apply it to the challenges we face every day? The answer might seem simple, but it's also incredibly profound. It starts with one thing: awareness. Awareness is the key that unlocks everything we've talked about. Without awareness, we can't truly change. When you begin to notice how your mind is reacting to different situations, you'll be able to stop, breathe, and choose your response. Think about that for a moment. You can choose your response. The old habits, the automatic reactions, they don't control you anymore. You have the power to choose. And once you realize that, everything begins to shift. Let's take a moment to revisit the concept of impermanence, which we've touched on earlier. Everything is constantly changing. Your thoughts, your feelings, your circumstances, nothing stays the same forever. And that's okay. In fact, it's beautiful. Imagine how much freer you would feel if you didn't hold on so tightly to everything. How much easier would it be to let go of fear, anger, sadness, or frustration if you truly understood that they, too, will pass? It's like watching clouds move across the sky. They come, they change, and they leave. The same goes for everything in life. Now, consider this. How much of your daily suffering comes from holding on to things that are already gone? Maybe it's past mistakes, regrets, or grudges that keep you from fully embracing the present moment. Maybe it's worrying about the future, fearing what might happen, when in reality, you can't control it. This is where the wisdom of Buddhism comes in, teaching us to release attachment, to live fully in the now, and to recognize that everything is part of a greater cycle. When you learn to detach in a healthy way, you no longer feel the need to force outcomes. Life becomes easier. The struggle begins to fade. And then, with that freedom, you can finally experience the joy that comes from simply being present. Isn't that what we all want? Peace, happiness, freedom. The beauty is that this is all available to you right now. You don't have to wait for some distant future or perfect moment. The path is here, in the present, in every breath, in every step you take. But there's something even deeper here, something that might surprise you. As we've discussed, the self is an illusion. We believe we are separate from others, that we are unique and different, and that the world revolves around our personal needs and desires. But what if that's not true? What if the boundaries we create between ourselves and the world are the very things keeping us trapped in a cycle of suffering? Imagine for a moment that you're not just you. You are a part of everything. Your actions, your thoughts, your energy, they all ripple out into the world, affecting everything and everyone around you. And the world is also affecting you. The boundaries you think exist are not as solid as you believe. We're all connected, part of this vast web of life. When you start to see yourself as interconnected with all beings, everything changes. Suddenly, compassion becomes more natural, understanding becomes deeper, and the way you see others as people, not just obstacles or competitors or strangers, becomes more compassionate, more loving. This shift in perspective is powerful. When you start seeing others with love, with compassion, without judgment, you not only change your relationship with them, you change yourself. The burden of resentment, jealousy, or anger fades away, and in its place, a beautiful sense of peace and understanding arises. And there's one more thing. The path we're walking on isn't about reaching some perfect state of being. It's not about becoming a perfect person. It's about progress, not perfection. Life is about constant learning, growing, and evolving. With every step you take, with every choice you make, you are creating your reality. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to be willing to learn and open yourself up to the truth of what is happening right now. So, what now? How do we carry these insights into our everyday lives? How do we continue on this journey? First, let go of the idea that you must have it all figured out. It's okay to be uncertain, to question, to explore. It's okay to make mistakes along the way. What's important is that you stay on the path, stay aware, stay present, and stay connected to your deeper self. Every day is an opportunity to start anew. Every moment is a chance to shift your perspective, to see the world through new eyes. So, keep practicing mindfulness, keep letting go of attachments, and keep embracing the impermanence of life. Life will continue to change, but with these tools, you will have the strength, wisdom, and peace to face whatever comes your way. As we conclude, I want to leave you with one last thought. You have the power to transform your life, starting right now. All it takes is the willingness to see the world in a new way. And remember, it's not about perfection, it's about progress. Stay on this path, and you'll discover a life filled with peace, love, and a deeper understanding of everything around you. Thank you for being a part of this journey with me. And remember, if you found this video helpful, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and most importantly, subscribe to our channel, Wisdom Woven. Your thoughts are always welcome in the comments, and I look forward to hearing from you. Until next time, may your perspective continue to evolve, and may you walk this path with wisdom, love, and peace. Thank you.